Hi there, I'm Daisy. At 29, I've been around cameras more than people sometimes. They say if you grew up like I did, with parents owning a string of hotels and restaurants, you'd stick to that silver spoon. But not me. I ditched the family business for a camera and nature's own backdrop. Freelancing was my jam, shooting for whoever liked my style, magazines mostly, sometimes ads, you know the deal. So, here's how it all kicked off. My trusty old camera, the one that saw me through countless shoots, finally gave up on me. Kaput. And instead of clicking my way to a quick online fix, I figured I'd hit the local tech shop. Needed to feel the heft of a new camera in my hands before buying. Walking into that tech store was like any other day, except it wasn't. I browsed through the aisles of cameras when this guy, about my age, popped up beside me. Looking for something specific? He asked, his tone casual, not the usual sales pitch I expected. Yeah, something that won't bail on me mid-shot, I replied, half joking. He chuckled. I get that. What's your focus? Landscape, portraits, street scenes? Mostly nature, but I like to mix it up with urban landscapes. Keeps things fresh, I explained, warming up to his genuine interest. Mark, that was his name, walked me through the latest models, explaining specs like he was reciting his favorite book. Not once did he try to shove the priciest tag in my face. It was refreshing. So, what do you think? Willing to take this one for a spin? He gestured towards a sleek model that seemed to fit the bill. Might as well. Can't have my next gig without a reliable sidekick. I grinned, making the decision easier than I thought. Mark processed my purchase, and as he handed over the bag, he tossed in, "Hey, I could use your number. You know, just to make sure everything's working great for you." I laughed, seeing right through his not-so-sly move. Sure, why not? But if I end up with spam texts, you're buying me coffee as compensation. Mark did call, not about the camera, but to ask me out. I said yes. Why not, right? Life's short and all that. After the camera store meet cute, Mark and I were pretty much inseparable. You know how it is when you just click with someone? Yeah, that was us. Always out and about, him with his quirky facts about tech, and me showing him the city through the lens of my camera. One chilly evening about 6 months in, Mark called me up, all excited. Daisy, pack a bag for the weekend. I've got a surprise. Mark, I swear if you've signed us up for some weird survival camp, you're sleeping on the couch. I joked, but I was already pulling on my boots. He picked me up in his rickety old Jeep. God, that thing was a death trap, but he loved it, and we headed out of the city. It was one of those drives where the music's playing, but you're both kinda lost in your own thoughts, you know? Excited, a bit nervous, wondering what's up. Turned out, he booked us a little cabin by the lake. Not fancy, but perfect. Just us, the woods, and a sky full of stars. That night, we sat by the fire, roasting marshmallows, the cheap ones that turn perfect golden brown, and I could tell he was itching to say something. So, Daisy, you know I suck at this kind of stuff. Mark started, poking the fire with a stick. But, I've been thinking a lot. I raised an eyebrow, munching on a marshmallow. Thinking can be dangerous, Mark. What's on your mind? He chuckled, took a deep breath, and then turned to me, his face half lit by the firelight. I love this, you know? Us. And I'm kinda hoping you do too. I leaned in, nudging his shoulder. Yeah, I kinda do. He fumbled in his pocket, pulled out a small box, and it hit me. Oh, this is happening. Mark just went silent, looking serious and kinda scared all at once. Marry me, Daisy. For real. The box popped open, and there it was. A simple ring, nothing flashy. Just perfect. I didn't expect to, but I laughed. It was either that or cry, right? Mark, this is the worst proposal ever. Of course, I will. He grinned, relief washing over him. Damn, I thought you'd need more convincing. Just promise me no more surprises like this without a warning. No promises. he teased, slipping the ring on my finger. We spent the rest of the night just sitting there, the fire dying down, talking about what this all meant for us. No big dreams, just real stuff, like whether we should get a new couch or if his Jeep would make it through another winter. The next day, we spent it lazy by the lake, skipping stones, and talking about how to break the news to our families. Mark's a bit estranged from his folks, they're tough nuts, always on about money and whatnot. He warned me they might not take it well, seeing as I wasn't exactly rolling in dough in their eyes. Let them talk, I said, tossing a stone across the water. We know what we have, and that's enough. Mark nodded, watching the ripples. Yeah, it's us against the world, huh? Always, I confirmed, knowing it wouldn't be easy, but also that it'd be worth it. Little did I know just how rocky it would get with his family, but for that moment, it was just us and the future. And that was enough. A couple of weeks after Mark popped the question, it was time to meet the infamous in-laws. We drove over to their place on a Sunday. I was a bundle of nerves, fussing over my hair and my clothes, wanting to make a good impression. The moment we stepped through the door, it was like walking into a cold gust. Mark's mom looked me up and down as if I was something the cat dragged in. His dad wasn't much warmer, eyeing us with this skeptical squint that made my stomach knot. So, Daisy was it? His mom started, not even a smile. Who do you work for? What's your salary like? I blinked, taken aback by the bluntness. I'm a freelance photographer. I work for myself, so my income varies. At that, Mark's sister, who had been lounging on the couch with her phone, looked up and snorted. Freelance? Sounds like a fancy word for being jobless. Mark could have picked anyone, and he ends up with a beggar from an alley. Their laughter stung, and I felt my face go hot with embarrassment. Mark's hand found mine, giving it a squeeze. Hey, that's enough, he snapped, his voice firm, more forceful than I'd ever heard it. I love her, and she's brilliant at what she does. That's all you need to know. His mom rolled her eyes, but dropped the subject. Dinner was a tense affair, with me trying to make polite conversation while dodging snide remarks about my little hobby. It was a relief to finally say our goodbyes. After that disaster, it was my turn to introduce Mark to my parents. We met them at a cozy little cafe downtown, a far cry from the tension at his family's place. My parents were all smiles when we walked in, pulling us into warm hugs. Mark, we've heard so much about you, my mom gushed, leading him to a table by the window. We're just ordinary pensioners now, my dad chimed in, his eyes twinkling as he shook Mark's hand. Used to run a small business back in the day, nothing too grand. He winked at me, a silent promise to keep our little secret just that, a secret. Mark had no idea he was sitting across from two people who could buy his parents' house 10 times over without blinking. And that's how I wanted it, at least for now. So, Mark, tell us about yourself. Daisy's told us bits and pieces, but we want to hear it from you, my mom said, her tone inviting. Mark, looking more relaxed than he had in days, launched into his life story, from his struggles with his family's expectations to his dreams of starting his own tech company. My parents listened, nodding and throwing in questions here and there. As we sipped our coffees, it struck me how different this meeting was from the one with his family. No judgment, no prying into personal finances, just genuine interest and acceptance. It was like a balm to the burns of the earlier encounter. When we left the cafe, Mark squeezed my hand. Your folks are amazing, Daisy. Thanks for that, I needed it. I smiled up at him, my heart full despite the rocky start to our family introductions. They love you already, you know. Mark and I wanted a simple wedding. Nothing fancy, just close friends and family, a little chapel, and some good food. That's all we needed to start our life together. But of course, his family had other ideas. From the get-go, his sister sneered at our plans. A modest wedding? More like a beggar's bash, she laughed one evening over dinner at their place, making everyone but Mark chuckle. His mother chimed in, Really, Mark, you're setting yourself up to look like you can't afford anything better. I tried to keep my cool, focusing on my food.